In the last decade, testosterone replacement therapy has tripled in the United States. It's estimated that close to 3% of all American men are using testosterone replacement therapy when it was less than 1% a decade ago. Hi, I am retired professional triathlete, CEO of Diamond Bikes, TJ Tollakson, and today I'm going to give you the straight dope on the dope known as testosterone replacement therapy.
This is gonna be good.
What should your testosterone level be? Well, that's a great question. We don't actually know the answer to this because it's changed and it's a moving target, and it's not the same target amongst all labs, all physicians. And so it's a very difficult thing to assess what it should be. We're going to start with one level. The American Urological Association states that low T is for any age group, anyone who has less than 300 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone. Less than that, and the American Urological Association says you have low T. Now, what if you go to Labcorp? Well, Labcorp, just in 2011, they had a reference range of a minimum of 348 and a maximum of 1197, nearly 1200. Okay, that's a huge range, but it's actually higher than the American Urological Association. So this new study came out and they realized that they kind of missed the benchmark on this. And the reason they missed this is broad study of all these males, looked at males 19 to 39 who had a BMI of less than 30 and measured their testosterone levels. They then realized that since the majority of people in this country have a BMI over 30, that therefore this study is not very accurate reflection over what average testosterone levels should be. So Labcorp actually lowered their testosterone reference range to 264 to 916. And at that same time, Quest Labs, which is another national lab, lowered their testosterone reference range to 250 to 1110.
Can't keep track of any of it anymore.
Where do we go? What's the number? How should this all work? And if you don't have any major symptoms, do you need testosterone replacement therapy? Probably not. Is it still a good idea to know what your testosterone is? Yes, it is. But if it's low, does that automatically mean you should get on testosterone? Well, no. If everything in your life seems fine, you seem like you're aging appropriately, then that doesn't necessarily mean you need testosterone just because you had one test that showed you were low.
You just answered your own question.
There are a lot of things that affect how your testosterone levels are and at what time. Hypothetically, what should you do? Let's say you're a male 50-year-old triathlete. You get your testosterone tested and you're at 200. Okay, what should you do? Okay, well, let's take this first example and say not only did you have it tested, but you went into the doctor and said, hey, I'm worried I might be a little bit depressed, my libido's low, I feel tired all the time. And your doctor says, well, let's check your testosterone level, and it's 200, so what should you do? Well, you should then, if your doctor advises something that is against the rules or any sort of medication, you should visit globaldro.com, put in any medication that's recommended with your doctor, go over this, and find out if that method or substance is banned in competition and or out of competition. If it is, you should then look for some alternatives, okay? And so one of these examples would be thyroid medication. So one of the things that happens to a lot of people is their thyroid levels drop and then their testosterone levels drop as a result of that. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe your testosterone levels dropped and then your thyroid level dropped. Well, it's worth a try because thyroid medication is actually legal. I'm not saying this is the surefire way, and I'm telling you, you should talk to your doctor.
Talk to your doctor.
But there could be alternatives to help you raise your testosterone level that are legal and still allow you to race in Ironman triathlons or Olympic distance triathlons or whatever without breaking the rules. Okay, so let's say you went through that with your doctor, you found no other alternatives, then you should go to USADA.org, USADA.org, and you should look for this sheet right here. This right here is a TUE therapeutic use exemption application for testosterone, and it's a physician's worksheet. So you got to go through this whole thing. The whole thing is what is this, 5 pages?
All right, 1 page down. How many more to go?
You got to go through this with your physician, and it has pretty strict guidelines of when you can test. So it actually makes you take 2 different tests collected in the morning while fasting between 10 a.m., from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. within a 4-week period, at least 1 week apart. So that can give you a baseline T level. And then the results are analyzed by an accurate and reliable method. Okay, and so free T measured by equilibrium dialysis may be submitted, as well as calculated free T from total T. But direct free T by immunoassay will not be accepted. Okay, so they're not going to just take any test results. Okay, so then you got to go over this whole thing with your physician. And on page 2, we have some physician considerations for TUE applications. Now this is really important. You can download this form, it's in PDF, it's on USADA.org, and just search for testosterone. Low levels within or outside normal reference ranges of any endogenous hormone absent a defined organic etiology will not justify the granting of a TUE, even if within standard of care and prescribed by a physician. Again, there's a lot of fancy words in here and it gets a little confusing with that, but it says any endogenous hormone. So let's say human growth hormone or testosterone or estrogen. If you have low levels of testosterone or estrogen or anything else, absent a defined organic etiology.
I know some of these words.
That means something natural has happened to you, like you don't produce testosterone naturally at all. Even if your doctor gives you a prescription, does not allow you a TUE, which means you're breaking the rules, you're cheating. That needs to be taken into consideration. USADA evaluates all complete TUE applications submitted by both males and females under the applicable IS-TUE criteria. An unequivocal organic etiology must be demonstrated in all cases. Now, there are some cases of organic etiology, okay, also known as hypogonadism, like Klinefelter syndrome, that would benefit you to get a TUE and would be approved, but most are not. The use of testosterone as an anti-aging medication is not justification for a TUE. If you have a testosterone level of even 50, but your body is able to produce testosterone, and maybe your testosterone is low because you exercise 30 hours a week and sleep 4 hours a night and are stressed at work and all these other things, well, that doesn't mean you should be granted a therapeutic use exemption. You should probably make some lifestyle changes before thinking about getting on any testosterone supplementation. This is tricky. I know this is going to ruffle some feathers. And again, we went over these numbers. If 3% of American men are on testosterone, does that mean 3% of triathletes are? Well, not necessarily. It could be more, it could be less. But we do know there are people in the sport who are using testosterone replacement therapy. And I would argue that Ironman cares very little about the person who races in their age group at an Ironman and finishes 295th out of 350 participants in their age group. Okay, that person is using testosterone replacement therapy to get them to the start line and get them to the finish line. Okay, it becomes a lot trickier, and I'm not applying these rules across everybody because I'm telling you the rules say that even if you're 298th in your age group, it's still against the rules, and that needs to be taken into consideration. But it's probably not going to be as serious of a doping offense, and no one's probably going to care if you're not beating anybody, if you're doing it for the self-satisfaction of completing an Ironman. Now, once you get into the idea of winning your age group or getting a Kona slot or a Nice slot or wherever the Ironman World Championship is going to be, things get a lot more complicated, okay? When you're taking a spot from somebody else who may or may not also be using testosterone replacement therapy, we don't exactly have a level playing field. Now, you can argue all you want that, hey, if they have a natural testosterone level of 800, then I should be allowed to have a synthetic testosterone level of 800, and that's level. Well, that may be your opinion, but that's not what the rules say, and today we're just talking about the rules, And so it says probably not allowed to compete with artificial testosterone. All that being said, it still is possible to get a TUE. It is the rules on any USA Triathlon sanctioned event. You are subject to these rules, and definitely in any championship event.
Sorry, Rick, those are the house rules.
Competing in a triathlon is not a right, it is a privilege. It is a privilege that should be taken very seriously. And if you are going to choose to use banned methods or substances, you should consider making yourself ineligible for all forms of accolades and awards. That's the straight dope on the dope called T and the TUE process involved in getting this. Thanks for tuning in. If you have some questions, advice, I can tell you that I have never applied for a TUE, have never used supplemental testosterone, and I'm just trying to state some of my opinions along with the straight facts on the issue. So the question brought up in some of the comments, people wanted to know if I've ever doped. I have never used a banned substance in a race whatsoever, absolutely not. I'm not one of these Lance Armstrongs. I'm not gonna tell you I've never tested positive. That's true, I have never tested positive, but I'm not trying to play around with my words here. I've never used a banned substance or a banned method in any of my competition. I can tell you that throughout the time I've been competing, I've been tested several times. They've all been negative. And I also went above and beyond. At one point in my career, we had this thing called Clean Protocol, which was a deception detection. Okay, so basically a lie detector test. And they offered this for free to every pro in Hawaii. And I can tell you that less than 10% of the pros at the World Championship agreed to voluntarily participate in the deception testing, all about doping. It was all about illegal drug use. I can tell you that I am one of those athletes. I will also point this out because he was upset with me about the last video I did. Andrew Starkowitz, who is a convicted doper and has served a sentence, albeit for a prescription medication under physician's care. Andrew was also one of those athletes that took the Clean Protocol testing at the World Championships, and like myself, he passed. And so you can leave that be as well. That's my story with drug testing and triathlon. If you enjoyed this video, you want to see more of it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I've got all kinds of great Ironman tips on training, nutrition, racing, amazing content. I would love for you to join me on this journey. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Check it out every week.